Welcome, I'm Aspicis, your host today from the Conclave of Aratar, bringing you some community information to help you decide on where you want to settle within our ranks. We hold these casts every Wednesday at 8 Eastern, Sundays at 4 Eastern, and I encourage you join in the Twitch chat to discuss the topics in the interview. For those of you new to the channel, we're a community gathered around the upcoming game, the Chronicles of Elyria, a game in development by Soulbound Studios. If you're interested in learning more about this upcoming game, there's a link below to take you to their website. Like mentioned earlier, myself the host, and our guests today are members of the Conclave of Aratar. We're a duchy within the Kingdom of Vornair, and we're going to be introducing you to the members of our community and discussing some topics about our community and the game, the Chronicles of Elyria. Joining us this week as guests is Count Voldis Veritas Magnus and returning guest Count Tiberius Titus Magnus. If you guys want to say hi here.
Heyo.
Hello all. Hello again.
So Tiberius, I mean, since the last time you've been on this cast, we've updated a few of the graphics. This is actually the first time we're running with the new Face the Conclave branding. You'll notice the nice, pretty background you've seen in some of the slides in the past, larger text, and some embedded videos. So this should be fun. This should be a great first not first experience.
Well, I mean, when we last spoke, I talked about how flexibility was important, but this is all wrong. We can't make any change now. That is awful, awful.
Oh yeah, yes. I mean, Tiberius hates change. Change we don't was his political slogan when running for office of
Hope
count.
for no change.
Hope for no change. Yeah. Keep things the same.
And broke, don't fix it.
Yep. Yeah. So, like I said, we've had you here before. You understand how this works. For you, Voldis Veritas Magnus. I hope I'm saying your name right. Correct me, please, if I'm
Voldis Veritas. Yeah, you're good.
Voldis Veritas Magnus. Yep. The way this generally works is, we're gonna ask some questions to both of you. We've learned a little bit about the county. You're both counts. We've heard about. Please pronounce your county name for me.
Simulut unum.
Simlut unum. I was going to go simultrium again because that's what I've referred to it in the past.
It's fine.
Simut unum. And the intention between the two of you is you're gonna merge at some point in the future. That's why we've got you both on here, right?
So yes. We're going to go into this game into exposition and all that separate, and then once the game launches and we're able to, have marriages and things like that where titles and lands would switch, we're going to combine counties, and so the two counties are gonna fall under the same name, Simulutunum. And if you have problems saying the full name, feel free to say Simul or something like that, some derivative of Simulutunum. Don't feel obligated to try to pronounce the whole thing. It's a little rough until you say it 1,000 times. So
yeah.
Yeah, no, I stayed up last night, pretty late there, just simulutunum. At some point in the middle of that mantra, I'm pretty sure I heard the neighbors scream. I don't think that was my fault. But yeah. So, we go through, we ask some questions. You guys have provided me with a 15-slide deck giving more information, some of which we've already covered, some of which we haven't covered, and we're gonna go around and talk about this. I don't think I mentioned you've got Eve in the background there, Voldis.
Yes.
One of your
Hi.
yep, one of your community members, future countess, if she so chooses, assuming that you don't make any large mistakes in your personal life.
I probably won't hear.
Yeah. So we're gonna get into some questions. You've provided a lot of slides, and we're gonna try to make sure that I take the chance to expose the community in this video to the slides, the effort that you've put into it. We usually start out in these with a quick question about, your gaming background, who you are as a person, that sort of thing. So if you could start there, that would be great.
First.
Yes, you Voldis. Tell us. I mean,
Okay.
we've heard from Tiberius. We're gonna circle back there, but you yourself, tell us about your gaming background, the aliases you've gone by, the games that you've played in the past.
Well, the first game I ever played was Command and Conquer, so I got hooked on games through RTS games. Then eventually, MMOs always kind of get everyone's attention. And actually, Spartan and I actually met each other playing Global Agenda. And that is still one of the best games we've ever played together. And I think eventually, well, that's when I started really playing with a lot of community groups. That's the first gamer group I actually stuck to. We took that stuff pretty seriously. And we did really good. That's my best memories in gaming are from that. But I think that's when I first started going by Volopt all the time. And that was good stuff. I missed that game so much. This is my first time actually sticking to another group and going into a big game ready to go and work together the whole time. So that'd be fun.
Yeah. So you're saying, the Chronicles of Elyria is one of the first big outings into larger gaming communities for you.
Yeah, well, the main game I play at the moment is Warframe. Anyone that knows me knows I'm a huge Warframe player. But usually my community involvement in that is private one-on-one stuff. So the community as a whole, I'm not really too involved in that.
Well, he does a lot of, I don't want to say tutoring because that puts the wrong thing, but he does a lot of helping new players and stuff like that. He's been with the game since beta, and I have too. I just don't play it nearly a fraction of what Vol plays it.
Yeah, I'm just like a private mentor. Help new people. Mentor. Yeah, I just help new people get stuff because that game is kind of overwhelming with information.
Yeah, a veritable, Eve of information there.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's good. That's helping new members learn and appreciate games so that they can engage in playing with you or at least in the same world as you. That's always
get over all the hurdles so they can have as much fun with the game as I do.
Yeah.
That appreciation for new people feeds into some of Vol's roles that we'll discuss later.
Yep.
Yeah, a real helper. You're not setting them up to knock them down, or maybe you are. A deep, darker other Vol.
Well, for the longest time, every time I play even like MMOs and RPGs, I'm always a support character. That's usually what I do. I like making everyone better. Until I met Eve, and she does the exact same thing. So when we play games like WoW, I've had to turn into a different role, like tanks. I know. I enjoy tanking now. I like taking the tank lead. It's actually pretty fun. So I'm kind of transitioning to that a bit, I guess. So me taking leadership position in this game is kind of more of that.
Yeah, so you met Eve, you changed your play style. Eve, I mean your name, what is it short for? Elistra?
Yeah, her older and like most frequent gamer name is Evalestra.
Well, go back.
Speak up. You're like sitting way over there, so you got to speak up.
Yeah, if you wanna just get real close to that mic so we can hear that voice of yours, that'd be great.
Sorry. Evalestra is about the only gamer tag I ever went by. It's the false gamer tag. It's not the false name online because I used to do Tex RP and I went by Midnight for that. But game wise, it's always been Evalestra.
Oh. Yeah, Latin for life. I see a lot of Roman, a lot of Latin,
Yeah, we've talked about that before. There's a lot of Latin influence within our county.
But
Roman based, yeah.
Yeah, but Evalestra, and we're gonna circle back to Evalestra. We're gonna circle back to Vol and Tiberius and what they do inside their community and what they want to do in game and all that other stuff. Now, one thing I noticed when you spoke there, Evalestra, Eva, that's what's the accent from? Like,
well, you have to guess. That's the war.
Guess is war. See, I'm thinking something Great Britain, United Kingdom-esque, but I'm not a accentress. Accenter.
I love that. I'm actually from Tennessee. I don't pronounce my R's properly, so I used to tell people I was just from like Newcastle. And believe how many people would believe that.
I believe that I'd believe that. Yeah, no, that's great. I didn't detect the same drawl in Sir Vol's voice, so You know,
Right.
Rolls from South Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're wrong. All over the place.
I know. It's humbling. No, I love it. I love that the communities get a bunch of different backgrounds to pull from. I think that's wonderful.
You won't hear my accent unless I'm really excited or annoyed with something. I do a pretty good job of hiding it most of the time.
Sure. So group here, new goals. We're gonna try to make him very excited. We're gonna try to make Serval very agitated, and we're gonna let that true voice speak. Your true voice speaks volumes. Anyway, but yeah, no. So we've been sitting there, we're talking about the gamer tags that we've used, the games that we've played in the past. A lot of involvement amongst the three of you. There's a lot of crossover in terms of the games you play and the interactions with each other. And we wanna start leading this into a little bit more about yourselves and your leadership, how you as a gamer, as you as a community leader, will represent or interact with the communities at large. And so we're gonna kind of transition really close into the leadership principles that guide your decision making when you have to make a decision. What does that decision? What do you think about in those decision making steps? What guides your decision making?
So I might end up making a lot of callbacks to my elder video, a shameful call out. But I talked about it before in that video. Our motto, our family motto, if you will, in this game is Ductus Exemplo, which means lead by example. And we take that to heart, that any kind of philosophy or any kind of rulings or any kind of thing that we try to do within our county, whether that's taxation, whether that's laws, or just like common practice, we will abide by our own rules. We're not sitting at the top saying that we're better than everybody else and that they have to follow some ruling that we have. We are going to live by the same rules that we want everybody else to. We're going to lead by example. And I don't think you can trust any leader, and nobody should follow a leader who's not willing to put themselves in their own people's shoes. If they're not willing to pay the taxes that they're asking everybody else to pay, then why are they requiring those people to pay taxes? If they're not willing to abide by the same laws, then what's the point? So that's big for us. Ductus Exemplo, lead by example.
Yeah, and I'm assuming here, but I want to give you a chance, Voldis and Eve, to mirror if you so choose, that you guys believe the same thing. You're not a shadow character who's looking to lead by fire, lead by blood.
No one ever wants to listen to a hypocrite, and they're not going to follow a hypocrite, so kind of have to lead by example. You want any respect.
It's only
we're not going to do anything to make a big rule and then not follow it ourselves. That doesn't make.
No, I think that's good. That's good. I mean, it's like you said, it's a short rule that a hypocrite lives unless they're terribly cunning.
Yeah.
And believe me, I don't think there's a lot of terribly cunning people in the world.
No.
Yeah. So in that leadership, in those interactions, you each have different roles inside the community, inside the county there. Like Tiberius, I believe. Wrong input. Tiberius, I believe that you're looking for, you're the head honcho, more or less, in collusion with Voldis here. I know your slide that you gave me, as I've just put up, you're the executive magistrate of Simultunum. See there,
close.
I was trying so hard to. I paused. I thought about it. I looked at my phonetic map that I wrote down. Any responsibilities not covered by the consuls fall under you. This is going to be interesting. Like we touched before, you're putting a lot of burden on yourself. You're taking the lead. That's all really good. That's all healthy responsibilities, assuming that you maintain them.
So, one of the things that I talked about in my Elder of Strategy video that we had is finding the right people to put in the right place. finding people who are strong in things and covering their weaknesses. And by no means do I think that I don't have weaknesses. I definitely do have weaknesses. And so I want people that can cover those weaknesses with their strengths. So one of my goals as a leader, and one of the reasons why all these responsibilities kind of fall under me right now, is just because it's kind of de facto. There's 3 of us right now in leadership, and we need to fill in those leadership roles with people who are interested and driven to contribute. And as we find those people, we will fill in those roles with those people, and you'll slowly start to see some of those responsibilities that I carry get disseminated among those people. And they'll have, full authority over their dominion, so to speak, within the political hierarchy. So I'm by no means trying to hoard any responsibility, but unfortunately, at this point in time, a lot of it is going to get shouldered between the 3 of us. You'll see in the other slides that we talk about in our government structure, you'll see how that we've divvied up the responsibilities. And when we do our merging, everything is being merged underneath me. So I will be the in-game technical count. But the way that we're going to be operating everything is essentially Vol and myself are going to be co-counts. Though I am the official one and most of the responsibilities are going to be falling under me, Vol is still, in my eyes, a responsible count for our county, and he will be in charge of his own segment of our government and our operations. Since you moved to that slide, I'll just speak to that for a second. So this is our high-level organizational chart, just as how it kind of is now. Anybody who's interested in seeing this in more detail, feel free to reach out to us and we can send this chart to you. I don't know if it's easy or hard to read as it is on the screen. But we have the Principium, which is basically the Magnus family. That will always stay there. But anything below the Principium, be an official that is a person in the community, as long as they show that they have the drive and the tenacity and they want it. But right now, I'm the executive magistrate, so everything in the red falls underneath me. Then you've got Vol, who's the consul edile, and everything in the blue follows underneath him. Then we have the consul agricultura, which is Eve. Everything agriculture and husbandry rolls up underneath that. So Vol is going to be handling internal HR and legal things. I'll be handling external HR relations, military affairs, and internal infrastructure, and then Eve will be handling internal agricultural concerns, game and wildlife, and animal husbandry. A special note, once we get into the game, and we've gone into the game a little bit distance-wise, and there's 4 stages of a group. There's forming, norming, storming, and performing, which I won't get into what those mean, but once our group is performing as a county, we will then reach out to all of the mayors and ask them to talk to one another and basically vote on what we call a plebeian tribune. It's the people's official, and that will be people elected, so not someone that we're appointing. It's somebody that's going to represent the people, and that person will have veto power over policies that we try to push within our county.
So you don't do anything that hurts everyone else.
Correct, because we want to do everything that's good for the people, but there might be times where we're tunnel visioned and we might not be thinking of certain ramifications. So having a third-party perspective could be invaluable in certain situations. So that's one of the things that's kind of a long-term goal of trying to get to. Devol, is there anything that you'd like to add to any of that?
Nothing that I won't say later on, based on what I'm going to be doing most of the time in game.
Yeah, again, okay. So I really like that you have this chart. You have this idea that the 3 on the I'm thinking Trinity-esque thoughts at the moment. The 3 amongst you, have this tight group at which you are taking on leadership responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say, hey, we're going to run this as a council, or I'm going to do everything myself. The buck stops here kind of thoughts, both which are very they're doable things. Like they're structures. They exist in the world. And I like that, you've tried to balance the stresses amongst the 3 of you, and you have that trust. Going over to Voldis, so Voldis, you're the consul. You say the word. I'll pretend.
Edile.
Edile. There you go. Consul edile. Yeah. So you're going to be in charge of the county community and stuff like that. You know, you're going to split your time between a tavern, it sounds like, in the
Yes.
capital city and some other stuff. Um, you know what? Tell me a little bit about, you know, your governmental responsibilities and how excited you are to fulfill them.
Well, I'm very excited. Yeah, again, most of the time I'm just going to be traveling around making sure I know what everyone needs and what they have extras of so I can keep everyone working together. So that's the main reason I want to do a tavern in the first place. Because usually in the MMO, you go to a town, you either go to the town hall or the tavern, you get all the quests you can get. So I want to be in charge of that. And my plan is that hopefully every other mayor will also have some sort of a tavern in their place, and I can become buddy-buddy with them, and we can set up quest boards, for example, of all the contracts I currently have out for whatever anyone needs. And again, my emphasis visiting everyone. It's my main point in playing the game is to visit everyone. So make sure everyone knows who I am and they can come to me when they need help.
Yeah, I like what you said, you know, the quest board, the pulling in the information and being able to disperse it, you know, getting to meet everybody. It seems it's a very a fluid leadership and personality style to be able to say, hey, you need trees, I can help you meet this guy who needs trees because I go out there and I meet people, I shake hands and slap backs. You know, that's a nice style, a nice thing to hear. And speaking of trees in this case, you know, we've got Eva in the back here, and she's going to be the head of agriculture. You know, so what I'm seeing from the slides you gave me, you know, you also want to be attached to the Vol Tavern with an apothecary, maybe give some forlorn lovers, not forlorn, star-crossed lovers a little something to help them get back at their parents. You know, Happy Dagger, all that. But you're going to focus a lot on the agricultural side of things and working with farmers or whether they're players, NPCs, whatnot, and doing sort of that thing. What's your take on your role as the Consul Agritura?
Well, every army needs to be fed, and I know that Spartan Tiberius, I know Miss Spartan mostly, or other Biden. He wants to have a good and strong military to protect our county, and you got to feed those people. And just about every other game I play support. I like to build farms.
It's all we do in Minecraft.
It's all I do in Minecraft. I sit at home and I build my massive farms and I build my seeds up and I just flood the inventory with food.
Yeah, if she's on your Minecraft server for a week, you got food to last 100 people a month.
It's fun. I like to watch stuff grow, and I'm really excited to see about how realistic everything is going to be in the COE, because if I'm going to be in agriculture and husbandry, will I be able to have a soap making shop as well? I'm really excited to see about that.
Get clean with Eva's. I am trying to come up with a slogan here for your line of soaps. I'm having a hard time. Come into the apothecary. We'll clean you up. I don't know. You can use any of those. They're public goods at this point.
I mean, just call the soap Vitae Life.
Vitae Life. Ooh, look at that.
Name.
There you go.
No.
It'll bring your skin back to life. Vitae.
See, I'm seeing the lotion commercials now where they show the dramatization of the skin and it looks like a desert, and then they get the little squirt and rub on there, and they're like, you know, oh hey, look at that! It starts your arm starts sprouting flowers. What did you put into this, Eva? I feel like a Spriggan now.
Heavens.
Don't want to know what I put in it.
Yeah, you're right. We don't want to know. That would be terrible. Don't give away your secrets now.
Kipix. We put Kipix.
Well, you know what? There you go. Had the chance. Anyway, you know, so you've been going on about the governmental structure, the leadership positions, your responsibilities inside that. Let's get a little deeper into the settlements, the cities, the tavern you talked about. Let's see what details you can give us. Like we've talked with Tiberius in the past. If you're a joint county, I imagine there's going to be a lot of similar structures, similar races, similar geographical features inside one county as opposed to the other. But if you could circle back, what are you looking for, Voldis? What have you talked with Tiberius about are you going to follow a eagle, or you're going to walk in the desert until an eagle clutching a snake is sitting on top of a cactus tree and that's where you're going to settle? How are you making those decisions?
Well, if it's based on our history, it's all, we just fled and this was the land we were given. But what we're going to make it is just a place where anyone can get along. So I know the counties will be biome specific and everyone starts with a certain race, but we have a strong emphasis on diversity and cooperation. So we don't care where someone comes from, as long as they can work together and they can make a life together, then that's all we need. That's all we ask.
So that's a good tie-in for Similute Unum, and I brought this up in my Elder strategy video. Similute Unum is actually 3 words. It's Similute Unum in Latin, and that means the short of it is together as one. Really, it means as one we stand or something like that in Latin, but together as one. So that was the intent behind it. We want to build a community. Yeah, we want to build a community where everybody has a place, and as long as they're going to contribute, then they're welcome to be there, regardless of what venture that is. If they want to go into music or politics or being a tavern owner, a farmer, a military person, so long as you contribute and you're not a malcontent, then we don't care what you do.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty much it.
Open accepting, in terms of geography. So I'm looking at your package slide here, and you want to be a strong, fierce, muscular, clever border county. And you want to have, some trade, you want to have some other stuff. So you're gonna set out on the border, aren't you? You're gonna put yourself between the center of the duchy and whatever it is out there, whether it's a friendly border or one that is filled with rabid Kippiks.
So, something that I just want to put out there is we haven't seen a map. We don't know what it's going to look like. So, in theory, this is... it's still a theory. Like, this isn't definite fact. We haven't picked a definite place that we want to go to. But this is the way that we're leaning right now with what we have seen, the information that we have, and the way that we've talked about things within the duchy. That we want to have a trade hub. We want to be a hotspot for commerce. So we want to be near the border between our duchy and other duchies, and hopefully between our kingdom and other kingdoms, which should hopefully give us access to maybe rare resources, rare items and craftables and stuff like that. But part of being on a border, part of being at the edge of, for lack of better words, an empire, you have dangers, you have risk, and so we have to be fortified and, have a strong presence that says, we're not pushovers. So we have to manage both at the same time, the acceptable amount of risk of allowing commerce and things like that, and at the same time having a strong, quote-unquote, physical presence to deter anybody from saying, well, I really just want to roll in there and steal everything.
And it's also very hard to roll into and steal everything. The town is a bustling trade center with gladiators and coliseums and horses everywhere. You're not going to attack a city with a bunch of convoys with armed soldiers all over the place.
One of the earliest iterations of our idea that we wanted, and it's kind of carried through everything, is that we had thought about making a city or a town that has so many revenue streams, so many trade routes, so much commerce that goes into it, that if that town and or city fell apart, it would destabilize the region. And so it was in everybody's best interest, including enemies, not to screw over that city, because it would destroy all commerce that happens in the region. And so you kind of protect yourself through commerce, as well as also having physical protections. And that's kind of went with us the whole way, that we want to be that economically powerful, that we're not trying to throw our weight around economically, but it would be a destabilizing force within the region if we were to go down. So...
And I like that you bring that up. I think I'm going to switch over to a different slide really quick. And the image that you have on this slide, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, at least I've got a vague memoric association, was a middle-aged artist and the depiction of the Tower of Babel. You know, and then once the Tower of Babel fell, everybody split to the four corners, you know, at least according to that lore. I like that association, saying, hey, we're going to become a giant superpower in terms of economy, in terms of our population, in terms of everything. So if you're inside Simultinum and you want to take us down, you know, it's probably not in your best interest. Sure. Legacy or some large group could come in and try. But from within, you've got that, you know, after you're cut and dry, if you were cut and dry, they're gonna have a hard time, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so you're gonna be a double county, like you said before. You're gonna emerge after exposition. You know, I'm a new player here. I'm looking for some place to settle down. I'm looking for some place to you know, establish myself in. You know, why should I choose you? Why is your county any different? You've said that you're gonna talk to me. You know, do you generally go out and recognize or interact with new players as they join into the community?
So we're in a unique position, and I'll turn it over to Vol once I say my little piece. In that, not a lot of counties are going to have basically 3 heads of state that all have kind of like an equal input into it. And basically, we're going to have one person whose almost sole job is doing that thing, is walking around and talking to people, seeing what's going on, seeing what, you know, mayors might be having issues with crops, and they need an influx of you know, crop resources within their town and or village, and so on and so forth. So from a leadership standpoint, we have someone that's devoted to walking around and trying to figure out what's happening in our county, you know, who's having issues, and so on and so forth. Additionally, and we'll get into this later about the people that are in our county that we already know who have committed, we actually have a mayor, again, we'll talk about later, who wants to create a town, village, settlement that caters to new players, that has basically public facilities for early game people, you know, maybe the most basic of crafting tables, but you as a new player that come into this world, you might not be able to afford building a crafting table, or might not know where to go to get it. So if you go to that city, or if you start in that city, you have free access to those, you know, simple pieces of equipment. And something that we've talked about for our city, the city of Aquitania, which is going to be the capital of Simulut Unum, we have the Collegium of Aquitania, which actually rolls up underneath my my department. That college, the way that I see it, is going to have a wing of it that has crafting areas that people can use. And the intent is to allow people to, they have to bring their own resources, but if there's like special kinds of forges or things like that that people wouldn't necessarily be able to use otherwise, then they can use ours. And then we get into some complex government stuff about grants, and if you want to do high-level research that requires special kinds of foundries and stuff, those you have to get permission to use, and those have special rules that we're putting on it about when you can use them and what the county benefits from when you use those. But generically, we want to have kind of like a starting crafting area that has basic essentials that can help new players understand and learn how this game is going to function, and hopefully kind of put them on a fast track to success. And if they're succeeding, then we're succeeding, is kind of how we look at it. And I'll turn it over to Vol if he has anything else he wants to add about what he'll be doing.
Yeah. So Vol, as the experienced new person onboarder of your group, is there stuff you want to add? Is there anything of note that you can say to pull in members?
Well, again, like I said, we want everyone to be a big community, but that doesn't mean if you want to be a solo person that you can't be in our group. We're okay with you going to your own farmland and just doing yourself on your own. I still might visit you and just say hi at least, but you don't have to participate if you don't want to. It's not going to be an enforced curriculum like that. But I will try to get people to at least, recognize there are people around you that are willing to work with you, and you can work together, however you may want to do that. And I normally have a personnel that helps me get along with pretty much everyone. And I know that because every time I play Warframe, favorite game, everyone gets along with me, and I know how to not overwhelm people with information or anything like that, just from that experience alone. Warframe is an overload. Yeah. I'm good with working with new players, working at their level. I don't have to go too fast or overwhelm them with anything. Just keep them working together. A little bit of progress is always progress. It doesn't have to be massive. That's what I promote.
Perfect. No, and we look forward to, seeing those new players that you help become active in the community, in the game, help enrich that gameplay, that life. In the future, if you ever want to create a video, say, for new players and how they can get involved in the game or some of the basic mechanics, I would love to help you with that. That would, I think, be a great thing. Now, you mentioned, Tiberius, that you've got people coming into your county, and they want to do different things. You've got a few mayors that are pledged to you. You've got some people outside of the trio that we've been talking to in this cast that are going to be a part of the area. So on the questions of the mayors, the barons already pledged to you. We've got Jedzia. She was not able to join us today, but she's declared her intent to join in your county. You notice how artfully I avoid ever saying that word. And then also Mayor Connacht of Beacon Tower to be, and I assume that's who you're talking about there with all the
Yes.
Yep.
He's a real nice guy. We actually met him when Eve and I went to PAX, not the last before that, when COE first started being announced. So we actually got the privilege of meeting him and hanging out with him and chatting with him, along with Countess Azen, who we're hoping to also be a neighbor with, if possible. Again, another county to work with, hopefully. Yeah, we have a lot of friends in our county and out that we're hoping to keep a good, strong bond with.
So, just to highlight some of the people that have committed to us, I want to run out some names. We have a young lady. I don't remember what her name in game is going to be, but her Discord name is Go Pogo Girl. Fantastic, real world doctor. She's a great help to other people.
And she was from another old gamer group Tiberius and I also used to be in, so we do have a history with her as well.
Correct. We have some prospects that have expressed interest in the game, but they're testing the waters. They want to see what more progress COE will make, funky syntax. We have another friend named Chesty LaRue who has expressed interest in some of the ideas but hasn't committed yet. And there's a laundry list of other people that I could rattle off, but those are some of the highlights. But to specifically call out our mayors, or at least two mayors that have committed to us at this point, we have Connacht with Beacon Tower. A couple notable things that he wants to do. He wants to run, I guess, like the biggest orphanage that exists within our county and maybe within the duchy. He's big about providing diversity within that orphanage, because how we've been described this game will work is when you come in as a character, you'll be taking over a quote-unquote child account as they become an adult. And so right now, or at least as the game starts, you'll be kind of landlocked or tribe locked, because there's going to be specific tribes and areas, and there might be a little bit of diversity, but there's not going to be a lot of it until people start intermingling. And one of the things that he wants to do is kind of fast track that and try to get people to come, I guess, release their babies to the orphanage, as awful as that sounds, so that we can have high diversity within our county out of this orphanage, so that when somebody wants to have, specific skills, they can be almost any race. They just have to make sure they match the family skills. And then they have a possibility of dropping within the orphanage. And at the same time, because he's having all these new players come in at this orphanage, he also wants to have the starter facilities, if you will, the crafting stations and stuff like that we talked about. Good guy, all about helping the community and helping other people, and he wants to see them succeed. And then we have Mayor Jedzia, who's also our Elder of Culture within the Conclave. Fantastic story. I've been back and forth with her, asking about things that are going on. She's written into, or we as a family, the Magnus family, are written into her lore, and she's written into our lore. Fantastic individual outside of game and in game. She's got this story about the home of the Weavers. She wants to be a group of traders, and she's got this whole backstory about fleeing from evil entities, and they've landed a home here where they were safe, and we would protect them and stuff like that. It's a great story. I suggest reaching out to her and reading about it if you want to do anything with weaving or trading, or if you're looking for a clothing guild to go to. And if you just want to talk to somebody, Jedzia is a great person to talk to, and she's a big fan of RP, which we have a decent RP presence. Anyway, so that I'm not getting too long-winded, those are two really big standouts within our county.
Yeah, I like the idea of the orphanage. I mean, had not heard of the massive orphanage that Senior Connacht is planning to run. Send your children, especially if they're being particularly annoying. No. I mean, outside of the real world negatives that go with our orphanages in real life, the orphanages in Elyria allow that possibility, like Tiberius was saying, for you to pick up any character. I like the idea of this large orphanage enabling you to be, well, if you want to be Kipik, even though they're not generally around the area, or imagine sometime in the future the blue-skinned Yoru are found, and Connacht, tries to gather them to his. So you don't have to travel halfway across the generated world in order to interact with or become a race that you want to for the reasons that people choose races. I think that's amazing. That's
well, something that I would like to hit on, just to talk about diversity of thought process and skill. We've got someone that wants to cater to newcomers, somebody that wants to focus on guilds. We have some people that want to focus on PvP, and another standout that I would like to mention is Ambrielle, or his reflected colors as she goes by in our discords. She has a very unique perspective she's taking into this game, and she wants to do something with basically. Well, actually, I don't want to give away what she's going to do, because I think it could go a long way and it could be really important. And I don't want somebody else to capitalize on her idea. And I don't know if she'd want me telling all that kind of stuff, but very unique perspective. And we get a little bit of that from everybody. And so we have a high diversity. And so we're not afraid of people that might have contrary ideas, or if somebody thinks that they might not fit here because they want to do a lot of PvP, you will. We'll talk later about a Coliseum that I want to do, and I come from a PvP background. I'm big into Overwatch competitive, and that's pretty much what I do with all my time right now.
And again, when you started playing the game we were playing for so long with Global Agenda, and that's all PvP.
True. So we have a PvP presence. There's a demand for it on my end. It might not be the highest that you could find somewhere else, but there is a desire to have that kind of capability. And then we also have like Eve, who's big into Minecraft, and Vol, who's big into that kind of stuff too, where it's calmer. There's not this big PvP element. It's more like processes and things like that. So we have a huge, diverse list of people that bring in different backgrounds. And so anybody who's listening to this that's curious about whether you'd fit in, because we are the motley crew of counties.
We make room for you. We make room for everyone. If we find someone that doesn't fit in, we'll try to find out why not.
The only thing that we won't accept is bad attitudes.
Yeah.
As long as you have a positive attitude, you're passionate about something, we'll find a place for you, and your passion will be prosperous for everybody in the area. And so that's what we want to facilitate.
No, that's a great recap. A very accepting ask around, a good community right there. You mentioned your Coliseum idea. I know we talked about it in the past. And the next section of our discussion here comes about, the attractions in your area, the things that you want to do that are accommodating different lifestyles, or say exciting to gamers. Voldis. I know we've talked with Tiberius about the Coliseum. We're gonna touch on that again. I want to give you first chance, fresh blood, new eyes, to tell us a little bit about some of the attractions that you have planned for the county.
My biggest thing, and where I'll probably spend a fair amount of my time, will be our public forum. Because again, if my main thing is walking around talking to everyone, I got to find a spot where they can come to talk to me, or just voice their opinions. Because everything we do is going to affect them. So we really do need to have their input. That's why, as in the slide, our laws and decisions are not private, because you're going to feel them or find out about them one way or the other. So we'd rather discuss it, make sure everything's okay. And again, another spot where everyone can come forward and voice their concerns with anything coming out, or any issues they're having, or any concern at all. That's the whole point of it. Especially they don't want to come or let me visit them at their home. They can just come and visit me here.
The caveat to that, and then I'll let Vol continue, is that when it comes down to laws and things like that, you're not going to make everybody happy. And that's part of letting people voice their concern, is sometimes something's going to happen that we may not like. It's just a fact of life, because we're trying to fix something for the majority, but there might be a minority that gets affected by it. And so we want to be fair to everybody. We want to have them, everybody have a chance to speak their opinion, but you're not always going to be happy with a decision. If taxes need to go up 0.5% because we have to be able to afford something, people aren't going to like that, but it may very well be necessary.
They might not like it because we suddenly do it, but if we at least voice why we need to do it and get their opinion on it, we can at least compromise in some way, or at least let them understand what is happening and why.
Yeah, no, I think that communicate. Well, what's that? 1 second here. I've got something coming in. There's a plague, and it's destroying all the corn, and no one's going to be able to eat. It looks like about 90% of the corn reserves, which is the main source of food there. Oh, they're gone. They've turned to ash. Now you're the count. What are you gonna do? You've got this public forum. You've come up with the developers have talked about different events, whether they're natural disasters or big rocks that they throw in the pond and they let the community react to. I use the plague of corn, or maybe there's a burning plague or some sort of action that occurs, and you've got to make a decision as a count. Hey, we need to do this. That's what the purpose is, right?
Yes, just to hopefully, in the case of public forum and me visiting people, I can find out about this before it's gone so far that it's caused us terrible harm. But hopefully, another benefit is, again, the main reason we did a council is, one, is to keep us in check, but two, is to also make sure we have all the different viewpoints we need to solve any situation that comes our way. And even with 3 people, you're not going to get every viewpoint. So, again, a wonderful little public forum where you can voice the concerns, have people discuss and debate. We might find several solutions that we never thought up ourselves and would never have thought up ourselves without such debate.
Yeah,
that's the main purpose of the forum.
A fun in-game way to communicate, disperse, and intake information. I like that. That's nice. And if you can't settle it in a forum, if you can't use your words to describe your issues, there's always the Coliseum now, isn't there?
Yes.
Well, one
way or the other.
Before we transfer to the Coliseum, another important note about the forum that is important for anybody who's coming into this game that has any kind of like religious affiliation or anything like that. Our county is very open to everybody as long as you're not malicious and you're not threatening other people. If you want to have any kind of religion that's out there, you have freedom of religion here. We're not going to persecute you. The one caveat with that, and I can't speak on behalf of, you know, towns and other cities, but within Aquitania, which is our capital, and we have a Discord and everything, politics and religion and anything that can be divisive is not going to be discussed in any channel except for the forum. The forum is that. It is a forum for open discussion. It's a place for free thought. If people want to say that they hate us, do it in the forum. Like, we're not going to, you know, take away your ability to say anything, but do it in the right place. That way we don't muddy the other channels. That way we don't, you know, if something's going on in game and we've got a private channel for the city, if the developers decide to do that, and we need that to be able to tell, okay, so-and-so is attacking us, and all of a sudden there's some guy who's just trolling the chat saying, you know, hate you, hate you, hate you, hate you, hate you, or, you know, there's some argument going on with people, we might miss that notification. So for the sake of keeping things clean, all kind of divisive things that could cause an argument or any kind of political discussion or religious discussion, all of that, take it to the forum. That's what it's there for.
And I know it might sound contrary, but the people that have negative opinions and stuff, those are the people we want to hear. If you just have someone agreeing with you all the time, you never even know when something's going wrong. So even the people voicing concerns or saying they don't like us, I would like to know why and what is causing them.
Yeah,
otherwise, they're never going to know.
We need it in a constructive format. If
Yeah,
all you do is say, I hate you, then we can't try to resolve anything.
Yeah, I mean, you can get them, but in that case, one of us can always, or you can get the community to get them to open up about why don't you hate us. Just elaborate. I understand you hate us. You got that point across. Just explain. What can we do to fix it?
Yeah, the mail you sent was very explicit about why you hate us. Let's go a little deeper here.
I hate you, die. That doesn't help me.
It's cathartic, though.
The Coliseum, to move on to the next part, is the friendly PvP area. Well, not so friendly if you're in the arena. It's meant for contests. So if two people want to go duke it out in the Coliseum, they can do it. If you want to settle some kind of dispute, well, sure, go for it if that's what you want to do. You know, we have a legal system that we can settle disputes, but if you want to go old-fashioned, you know, blood and guts, then we won't stand in that way, as long as both parties consent. So we want to have a PvP environment for peacetime. So in wartime, or if there's bandits and stuff like that, there's going to be baronies, and I will certainly direct our PvPers toward the baronies, and I might even be in control of one myself, being the Elder of Strategy. So I will have things for people to do, you know, tracking down bandits, thieves, stuff like that. Or if we ever do go to war or have small skirmishes with other duchies or other kingdoms, then certainly they'll be involved in that. But let's assume that we're 100% peaceful and nothing's happening. What do we do with PvPers? How do we keep them engaged? Coliseum. It's a great way for PvPers to go in and just practice, to be able to fight each other. You can do it every day. And we plan on having, you know, big events that are around the Coliseum, which we'll talk about when we get into the Oktoberfest thing. But the Coliseum, we want to have tournaments and stuff like that we host where it's inter-county, so there's multiple counties sending out people, inter-duchy, so multiple duchies sending people. And if we ever become renowned enough, maybe we can do it like the Super Bowl, where you have kingdoms that are around us sending their best fighters to go debut our skill over their skill.
Yeah, we have our own little World Cup going on. There you go.
Yeah, so it's not going to be a small facility. It's going to be big, and I can actually stand behind that because, unfortunately, I have probably spent more money than I should have on this game with the sole purpose of being able to build up the infrastructure, which I talked about as the Elder of Strategy within our county, and to build this Coliseum. So a lot of my EP is going to go into building up these systems that we want to have function.
Yeah, and just to reinforce, so Caspian SBS Soulbound Studios as the studio has expressed that, titles are a thing. A count, a mayor is a title, a champion is a title. There is a degree of competition that they intend to put into this game, so that maybe if you participate enough in player versus player activities in a legal sense, you could achieve the renown, the name as champion of Elyria, champion of the Colosseum, something along those lines.
Well, they've definitely talked about having contracts in this game, and so there's nothing stopping us if we can get, let's say, all of the counties within our duchy to actually send out their best fighters to participate in a tournament. There's nothing saying that we can't have a document written up that all of the counts sign, saying whoever is the holder of this document is the champion of the competition. And so whoever wins the tournament gets this document signed by all the counts, and for the next year, 5 years, or however long it takes for us to do another tournament, they are the champions. That county can walk around with their head held high saying, we have the champions, we have the best PvPers. And those people that participated, that won that, could take that title champion, and it would be a legal document that supports it. So that is definitely something that we can implement.
And who knows what kind of benefits they might get for holding such a title. And that's a good thing.
Fame and renowned, yes. The rumor system will be supportive of such things. And so we started this talk of attractions out with the forum and speaking, and we moved to the Colosseum and fighting. And I feel like the next section that we can transition to is a nice go between those two topics, because when one partakes in certain beverages, one maybe is inclined to speak more than usual or fight more than usual. You've got a festival that should have a little bit of both. Oktoberfest, right?
Correct.
Everyone loves
it. Now, name may change, but the concept's going to stay the same. This is something that we're striving for, is a Oktoberfest-like event. So the general skinny on the whole thing, and I won't get too far into it because I think at some point we're going to do a completely separate video, and we're kind of running on time here too. So we'll do one devoted to the Oktoberfest. But right now, the general gist of what the Oktoberfest is going to be is it's going to be kind of like a week-long tournament and beer festival. And so we've pre-planned out how we're going to run the tournaments and like what days they fall on. So, on a Tuesday this might happen, Wednesday this might happen, so on and so forth. So you'll start out with individuals, then you'll start out with small groups, then you'll start out with like the Super Bowl, which is, county versus county or duchy versus duchy, whichever the highest level is. So if we have kingdoms coming in, then, kingdom versus kingdom. And outside of the Colosseum, so it's kind of like if you get a ticket to the Colosseum, you can come in and go out. There's going to be a beer garden, and there's going to be, the non-reserved section that anybody can go into, and then there's the reserved section that we'll have, and I have the beer tins for it. I dropped too much money on beer tins to try to set up this fantasy idea of what I want it to look like in my head. Having a beer garden where we want to have a beer contest. So one of the things that Vol wants to do with his tavern is create a signature alcohol.
Or three.
And the way that this game has kind of functioned, and what they've talked about is the ability to create new things, the ability to experiment and maybe discover something new. So one of the things that we want to do with this beer competition is to have people show up and debut beers and basically say, well, this one gives you a buff to stamina of 5, this one gives you a health buff of this, or this one gives you experience gain, or this one gives you experience and stamina.
And this one gives you strawberries.
Or this one just gets you really, really drunk. And if there's a drunk mechanic in the game, maybe we do it on, well, this one knocks you out after half a pint, and this one knocks you out after a quarter pint, So we want to have some kind of competition in that regard to bring out brewers and, people that have a fancy for that kind of thing. And, kind of have like food competitions to see who's providing the best buffs or who's got the most diverse buffs and stuff like that. And then we've talked about having prizes for who wins the tournaments versus who wins these like alcoholic beverage competitions. So that's kind of the path that we've gone with Oktoberfest, is trying to create this big sort of week-long plus festival where there's drinking, there's merriment, and there's tournaments.
Yeah, no. So Oktoberfest, I think you hit it to a T. The intent, the name, being able to compete both in combat and in crafting, wonderful idea. Now Vol and Eve back there, there are other things that you can think of right now that that are interesting, that circle around Oktoberfest that you'd like to discuss?
Directly, I don't know yet. I know we're still planning lots of festivals and lots of competitions. Oktoberfest is one of the big ones because Tiberius and I love our Oktoberfest beers. And we used to hang out all the time. We even got those giant Yingling mugs several times over, and we worked for those.
Yeah,
that's a big one for us.
And then as okay, perfect. And so as like a last note in here before we transition to our goodbyes, speaking and fighting, drinking is like speaking and fighting. If you drink, not that this happens a lot in Vegas or is any of the cases with either of you, you drink a little bit and maybe some nuptials are exchanged, So, you are married in game, or you will be betrothed to Countess Aeson, and then Voldis, you're gonna be married to your lovely wife Eve. Then,
Correct.
So,
yes.
Fair warning to all the people out there who are listening to this and they're thinking, I like the voice, I like the personality. They're taking people, folks. You were too late.
Yes, so Vol and Eve are going to get married at the earliest opportunity, and right now we're not sure if Countess Aeson and I will have a actual ceremony in game, if we want to try to RP that as a community. All that kind of stuff is up in the air. So right now we're just betrothed. We're not actually married. And when that happens, we will effectively become a triple county. Aeson has things that she's going to be doing for the Conclave at a high level that's going to have her very involved. And so I will be pretty much running and managing that. So when she's able to, she'll have all of her control over her county, but for the sake of making sure that it functions properly and it's not being affected by any kind of absence. Simulut Unum is effectively going to be a triple county with the main capital in Aquitania, and then there's going to be the city in Aeson's county. And she has all the right to that county. You hear it here. Here's my verbal consent and agreement to a verbal contract that I'm not trying to take anything from her. And if she ever wants her county back and wants to get rid of my happy behind, then it's all hers. Her county, anyway. So, anyway, that's the plan. We're planning on getting married after the game launches, and to what end, we're not sure yet.
Aghast, your clever plot. No, that you've heard it here first. They'll send out in-game invitations if it so occurs. If you don't get one, too bad. I'm sorry. If I don't get one, I'm so sad. No, no. So that's about all of our topics to cover here. We're gonna transition towards our goodbye section of the cast. But before we get to the goodbyes, I just want a quick reminder that we, the guests and hosts of Face the Conclave, hail from the Conclave of Aratar. If you or a friend is part of the Aratarian community and wish to have a similar spotlight for your group, your school, your organization, your town, your county, your coliseum, your forum, reach out to Jedzia for scheduling. If you have a topic you want to talk about with the Illyrian community at large, be it crafting, politics, the economy, maybe you want to talk about some deviant lifestyles, maybe you want to talk about, military ranks and PvP lifestyles, reach out to me, Aspicis, and we'll put something together to discuss in this media form. A reminder that we hold these casts every Wednesday at 8 and Sundays at 4 Eastern. and I encourage you to join in whenever we go live to discuss things in the Twitch chat. This has been Face the Conclave with me, Aspesis, Voldis, Veritas, Magnus, Count
Yep.
Tiberius, Titus, Magnus, and Eve. See you next time, folks. Bye-bye.